Cyberspace is not what it once was during the 2020s. In the time of the Red, the old net is a walled-off digital wasteland. Data fortresses, known as net architectures, are where people keep their digital secrets and how security systems at a given site are controlled. And netrunners are the cyberspace ninjas capable of gaining access to those systems and exploiting them. Hello there, and welcome to the latest video in my series, How to Run Cyberpunk Red. This video is the next in my role breakdowns, focusing on the Netrunner role. This video will go over some examples of prominent netrunners in Cyberpunk lore, the Lifepath options for netrunners, steps for how to build a netrunner character, and the role netrunners play within a crew of edgerunners at your table. As I've mentioned in my previous two breakdown videos, these are just my suggestions on the Netrunner role rather than anything concrete you should follow. I'd love to see your comments on this video as well as any questions that you have. Before diving into the breakdown though, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Every little bit helps the channel. You'll also find a link in the description for my Linktree. All of my socials can be found on there as well as a link to my Patreon. Patreon subscribers get early access to my YouTube scripts, exclusive film and TV reviews, as well as my series Legends of Cyberpunk, which focuses on people and groups within the Cyberpunk universe created by R. Telsorian Games and CD Projekt Red. Patrons will also get shoutouts on my YouTube videos moving forward. Of all the roles in Cyberpunk Red, netrunners are perhaps the most specialized. Where solos are the curators of violence, netrunners are the digital frontier experts, the ones who use cybernetics to connect their minds to the net in order to extract data, cause mayhem, or just to see what's out there. If you're a 90s kid like I am, you'll probably remember Hackers, a film focusing on teenage computer hackers trying to outsmart a corporate black hat hacker, trying to frame the teens for his own transgressions. Netrunners in Cyberpunk Red can be white hat or black hat hackers, or they could be somewhere in between. After the fall of the old net due to the actions of Rache Bartmos, one of the most skilled netrunners of his day, the cyberspace landscape of the time of the Red is one of closed-off systems and danger lying beyond the black wall for anyone foolish enough to attempt to breach it. One of the most prominent netrunners in the lore of Cyberpunk is Rache Bartmos, considered the most skilled hacker of the 2020s. It was Rache who unleashed the data crash, a systemic virus that poured through the old net after his death, unleashing sentient artificial intelligences that attacked programs and netrunners alike with equal malice. Another prominent netrunner from the 2020s is Alt Cunningham, the creator of the Soul Killer virus, and the only person Rache Bartmos was afraid of. Alt is now a digital ghost, set free on the old net by another netrunner contemporary of the 2020s, Spider Murphy. By the time Cyberpunk 2077 rolls around, another prominent netrunner enters the fray in the form of Songbird, aka Song So Mi. Songbird shows just how far a netrunner can be pushed and the savage toll breaching the black wall takes on a person. In terms of gameplay, the closest equivalent for netrunners in another TTRPG are Deckers in Shadowrun. Netrunners provide the means to pry secrets from net architectures, the closed servers now utilized by everyone in the wake of the data crash. Gone are the days of Cyberpunk 2020 where a netrunner would be in a far-off location hacking a system while their team was physically there. Instead, netrunners have to be on site and within a few feet of an access point in order to jack into the system and start a net run. To do this, netrunners rely on their cyber decks, the programs and upgrades installed on the deck, and most importantly, their role ability called Interface. Now that we've got the preamble out of the way, let's dive into creating a Netrunner character for Cyberpunk Red. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, these are simply my suggestions using the available options in the Lifepath from the Cyberpunk Red core rulebook, as well as the Netrunner specific Lifepath options, along with the Street Rat and Edge Runner templates that are available. Feel free to build your Netrunner in a way that makes the experience fun for you. The first big thing to focus on during your build is personality. Depending on how you want to play your Netrunner, you could opt for shy and secretive or sneaky and deceptive. If you're going for a more logic-driven character, you can't go wrong with the intellectual and detached personality option. Netrunners tend to see the world differently because of their ability to connect to digital systems, so a certain amount of distance from physical reality is to be expected. Clothing, hairstyle, and affectation are really up in the air for a Netrunner character. Netrunners tend to not be social butterflies, preferring to spend their time working on programs, virtual reality simulations, or hacking net architectures that aren't well guarded. As such, generic chic, leisure wear, or bag lady chic are all viable options for someone that puts zero stock in how they dress. Hairstyle is really a personal preference option for you as a player. As far as affectation, strange contacts would be my only suggestion, since it would allow a Netrunner player to have something that sets them apart from everyone around them. A Netrunner's motivation and relationships are a big factor in character creation. The easy default answer for what a Netrunner values most is knowledge, but it could also be money or power. As for how Netrunners feel about most people, it depends on if you're building an isolationist Netrunner who only interacts with people in meat space when they have to, or a Netrunner who tries to keep their connections to other people to ground themselves away from the cold landscape of cyberspace. For original background, you've got some fun options to play with. Going back to the film Hackers for a moment, you have Angelina Jolie's character Kate, whose mother is a prominent author and celebrity. In Cyberpunk Red, that would mean a character built along those lines would most likely come from one of the 3 corporate options in the list. On the flip side, you have Johnny Lee Miller's character Dade, who comes from a working class background. That could fit the megastructure Warren Rats background option from the list. Environment and family crisis options should follow naturally from the original background choice you've selected. A Netrunner who grew up with corporate parents or family members would have probably spent time in a corp zone or a corporate skyscraper. A Netrunner who was a Warren Rat would have grown up in the shadow of one of the corporations who own the megastructure they live in. The crisis your family experienced should be something that fits well with the previous 2 options for original background and environment. Lifepath options, it's time to dive into the Netrunner specific Lifepath. If you've watched my previous videos on the Rocker Boy and Solo roles, some of these should feel a little familiar. First up is determining what kind of Netrunner are you? Is your character a freelancer who hacks systems for easy eddies? Are you a hacktivist who wants to expose the evils of the megacorporations? Or maybe you just hack systems for the hell of it. Next, you decide if you have a partner or if you work alone. If you have a partner, you can then decide who that person is. Are they a family member or an old friend? Maybe the partner has ties to the mob or one of the gangs in the city or one of the corporations out there. It could also be possible that your partner is a rogue AI using you for its own alien wants and needs. From there, we move on to what does your workspace look like? Are there monitors and clutter everywhere? Is the space neat and tidy? Or does it look fully neglected because you spend most of your time hooked up to your virtuality goggles? You can decide next who some of your clients are, which ranges from local fixers sending you job opportunities, or corporate execs who want to use your skills for under-the-table black projects. There are some good options here, so I'd suggest taking a couple of minutes to consider, since this will help your game master create NPCs that you can interact with. The same goes for the next question, which is where does your Netrunner get their programs? Programs are the main weapon of netrunners when they dive into a net architecture. Without the right programs and safety measures in place, a net run could end just as swiftly as it begins, leaving the runner damaged or dead. Maybe you get your programs from a local fixer in exchange for the hacking work you do for them. Maybe you steal from other netrunners that you've encountered in the physical world. Or maybe you scrounge the night markets to find whatever you can. Last but not least is the question of who's gunning for your netrunner. The options here are quite intriguing, ranging from a rogue AI that's taken an interest in you to corpo rats who are looking to make you a permanent part of their team. These don't have to be negatives, mind you, but given that this is Cyberpunk, it's safe to say that none of these options have your netrunner's best interests at heart. Once you've completed all of your life path options, it's time to start filling out the meat and bones of your netrunner, starting with your stats. On page 74 of the core rulebook, you'll find the Street Rat Edge Runner template for stat generation. If you're going with the Street Rat option, simply roll a 10-sided dice one time and pull the row of stats based on the number on that die. If instead you're going with the Edge Runner method, roll the 10-sided die 10 times and pull the stat number from the appropriate row. If you're going to use the complete package method, let's examine the template to see what suggestions stand out. Remember that with the complete package method, no stat can be lower than 2 or higher than 8. Right off the bat, you can see that reflex, dexterity, cool, and luck have the most entries with an 8 in them. A reflex of 8 would be my suggestion, since that plays a big factor in determining initiative when combat starts, but more importantly, when a net run starts. Dexterity is a good idea if you're planning on going with a netrunner who can defend themselves physically or avoid physical attacks. Cool could be a dump stat for your character if you decide your netrunner isn't very sociable. Luck is a stat I would suggest investing in, since it can help with those tricky net actions. I would also suggest keeping your body and will stats high to make sure you have a good amount of hit points. Many of the attacks you'll deal with from Black Ice programs in net architectures target your hit points directly, meaning your armor won't protect you. And depending on how extensive you plan to enhance your netrunner through cyberware, you may want to consider having a 6 or a 7 in empathy. On page 86, you'll find the Street Rat template for the Netrunner's skills. Notice which skills have the max number of 6 ranks in them: education, evasion, stealth, basic tech, conceal reveal object, cryptography, cyber tech, electronics security tech, handgun, and library search. Based on this list, you can see that netrunners are expected to have a firm grasp of security technologies, both mundane and digital. They're expected to be able to fight back and evade damage to some extent, and they are meant to be stealthy and unobtrusive as they work to hack into an architecture. Library search and education focuses on how well netrunners can research their targets on the net or what kind of formal training they received early in life. The Edge Runner template gives you the freedom to pick from the same list of skills, but decide how you want to divide up the skill points. For the complete package option, I would definitely suggest investing in evasion, cybertech, stealth, electronics, security tech, and handgun. If you decide to go with a high dexterity and high reflex build, you could also incorporate melee weapon into your skills to have another way of defending yourself in meat space. Page 98 shows the Street Rat Edge Runner template for your Netrunner's weapons and armor. Like the other two roles I've covered, light armor jack for the head and body are pretty standard and inexpensive. A very heavy pistol only gives your Netrunner 1 shot per round of combat, but with 4d6 worth of damage, that 1 shot can seriously mess up somebody's day. If you decided to invest in the melee weapon skill, then you may want to consider getting a heavy melee weapon to give yourself another option if combat gets up close and personal. As for armor, another option to consider purchasing if you're using the complete package build is the body weight suit, which gives the same level of armor as light armor jack and has a place to store your cyber deck and support your interface plugs. The major benefit of a body weight suit that makes it worth spending the 1,000 euro bucks at character creation is the added hardware option slot for your cyber deck, which can be a big boost for your character. Next up is your gear and outfit template found on page 103 of the core rulebook. Netrunners start off with an agent, a smartphone powered by a form of low-grade AI, a 7-slot cyber deck, virtuality goggles, generic chic, leisure wear, and urban flash clothing, as well as programs for your cyber deck. The programs armor and sword are a given since they are the main defensive and offensive programs available. You can also choose between Sia and Eraser, Vrizbolt and another sword program, or Worm and another sword program. The reason Sword appears frequently is that you can install the same program multiple times on a cyber deck, with each version taking up one of the slots. When a program is destroyed, it can't be reactivated until the net run is ended. But if the program is installed multiple times, the next one can be activated if the previous one is destroyed. When I go over net running in a future video, I'll go more in depth into how all that works. If you're using the complete package method, here's where your potential future choices for cyberware can dictate what gear you'll want to pay for. A cyber deck is a must-have for a netrunner, which the base level on that has 7 option slots costing 500 euro bucks. Virtuality goggles are essential for net runs, so you'll have to get those. But you can install virtuality as cyber eye implants provided you get 2 cyber eyes. If you've invested in electronics security tech, a lockpicking set would not be a bad piece of gear to purchase. You may also want to consider getting a tech tool if you plan on investing in some of the other tech skills like cyber tech and basic tech. Last but certainly not least is your Netrunner's Cyberware found on page 117. There are only 3 items listed and 2 of them are absolutely essential for your Netrunner. The Neuralink and interface plugs have to be installed for your Netrunner to connect to your cyber deck and perform net runs. Shift tacks are a nifty piece of fashion wear that let you have color-changing lenses implanted into your eye, which is mainly an aesthetic choice. I mentioned above that you can get virtuality installed as a cyber eye implant, but that requires you replacing both of your eyes with cyber eyes. It's only 300 euro bucks for both cyber eyes and the virtuality implant, so it may be worth the bargain, but it'll also mean taking a 16-point hit to your humanity score from those 3 implants. If you do go with cyber eyes, you may want to consider getting the Chiron implant along with a cyber audio suite and an internal agent. Interface is the Netrunner's role ability that allows them to use net running skills, but also determines how many net actions they get during their turn in the initiative order. Netrunner characters start with 4 ranks in interface at character creation, which means a Netrunner character begins play with 3 net actions per turn. At the maximum of 10 ranks in interface, a Netrunner gets 5 net actions during their turn in the initiative order. Interface also grants specific abilities that a Netrunner can utilize during a net run. Backdoor is the ability used by a Netrunner to hack passwords in a system. Cloak is most useful when a runner wants to remove any trace of what they've done in a system when they've accomplished their goal. Control lets a runner take over a control node in a system. ID gives a runner details on the data they find in a net architecture and what its value is. Pathfinder is the ability a netrunner would use at the start of a net run to get a digital map of the architecture. Scanner allows a runner to find nearby access points they can use to jack into an architecture. Slide is what makes it possible for a netrunner to escape a black ice program they encounter in a system. Virus is where things get interesting, since this ability lets netrunners make a permanent change to an architecture. Lastly, you have Zap, which is a basic attack ability runners can use against both hostile programs and other netrunners. Having a netrunner in your crew of edge runners is not essential, but it does make things a bit more complicated for you as a game master. Without a netrunner in the group, you'll have to come up with ways for players to get around security systems that are inevitably tied to net architectures. It's definitely possible either through having a tech in the party that can create the necessary countermeasures, or perhaps letting the crew hire an NPC netrunner to assist during the job. But if you have a netrunner in your crew, it opens up possibilities for different kinds of jobs for the crew, including ones where stealth and espionage become available. I would caution game masters that net running is a game within the game, and you'll want to make sure you take the time necessary to review the chapter on net running to ensure everything is handled smoothly. Multiclassing into another role as a netrunner can be tricky, since your stats and skills would have to be planned out ahead of time. In the DLC Collecting the Random, you'll find the Netrunner multiclass options and a brief description of what that kind of dual role would look like. Out of the group, the two that I find most fascinating are the Builder, which is a Netrunner tech combo, since that means the Netrunner is able to build their own programs, cyberdeck, or even cybernetics. The other is the Netrunner media combo, the Whistleblower. This multi-class option works best if you are playing a more sociable netrunner with a higher cool stat and social skills. That covers everything for the netrunner role breakdown. Next up, I'll be doing a deep dive into the tech role. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching, Chooms.